The present perfect tense in English is a verb tense used for past actions that are continued in the present. It's very commonly recognized by the auxiliary verb to have with corresponding conjugations, but it's a complicated tense because it doesn't translate in many other languages. The present perfect tense shows an action that began in the past but is directly related to the present, indicating that it's continuing with a change over time. Although it's related to the present, it deals with actions that started in the past but happen now. In this tense, the auxiliary verb to have is used, which is accompanied by a main verb. The main verb always takes a participle form, specifically the past participle, which I discussed in the previous video. The past participle is often the same form as the past simple of a verb, unless it is irregular. In the subject-verb agreement, only the auxiliary verb to have will be conjugated to fit the proper subject. The past participle of the main verb remains the same no matter what the subject is. So generally, we use have for all subjects and has for the he, she, it pronoun. Let's use the verb to talk, which will have the regular ed ending for its participle form. To put to talk in the present perfect, we first begin with the subject, provide the auxiliary verb to have that will match the subject, and then use the past participle of to talk. So it will look like this. I have talked. You have talked. He, she, it has talked. We have talked. And they have talked. As a useful concept, let's not forget that English has contractions. We can combine have with every pronoun, but the conjugation has will not work because it interferes with a different concept. I've talked, you've talked, we've talked, and they've talked. This way, the contractions make a better sentence flow, especially in English conversations. This is the pattern for the present perfect. A subject plus have or has that can have a contraction plus a past participle of the main verb. A different verb with an irregular past participle is to eat, and in the present perfect it will look like this. I have eaten. You have eaten. He, she, it has eaten. We have eaten, and they have eaten. Likewise, you can contract have with the pronouns. Although to eat has an irregular participle, it's still used in the present perfect. Another verb that can be used is the action verb to have, not the auxiliary verb to have. I have had. You have had. He, she, it has had. We have had, and they have had. Likewise, you can contract it. This is the function of the present perfect tense, so principally, it can work with any verb. Still, this tense is often confused with actions that are in the past simple, and it's important to understand how the two tenses differ from one another. The past simple speaks about actions that are specifically tied to the past and finished in the past, like in the phrases, I visited Paris in 2019 and I lost my keys last night. These sentences use verbs from the past simple because they were fully accomplished, and it's proven through keywords like in 2019 and last night. The fact that I visited Paris in 2019 means that the action is fully finished in the past, so it doesn't have any ties to the present. I lost my keys last night indicates that I probably found my keys later and the problem is over now. On the other hand, the present perfect tense speaks about actions that are unspecified and have a present effect. They may have started in the past, but their presence is now. For instance, I have visited Paris signifies that it's unknown when I've visited Paris, so it can mean that I'm in Paris right now. I have lost my keys indicates that the keys are still missing, so the problem affects me now. Alongside, it's possible to tell their difference with time expressions, like yesterday, last week, last month, last year, which are used in the past simple, or never, already, recently, since, today, this week, and this month, which are used in the present. I will utilize some of these throughout the video. This is their difference. We use the past simple for past actions that have no connection to the present, but we use the present perfect for actions that started in the past and are still happening now, or for finished actions that have a connection to the present. Moreover, other English concepts can be used with the present perfect and they must be known. To use the present perfect tense with negation, we add a negative word, like not or never, after the auxiliary verb but before the past participle. A subject, have or has, plus a negative, plus a past participle. An example of that is, I have not slept since the exam started. The phrase can also be rewritten. Since the exams started, I have not slept. As a note, it's best to not use subject contractions when using the present perfect with a negative because it will sound too awkward, at least in American English. Saying, I've not slept sounds bad, so saying, I haven't slept is better. This way, the negative contraction sounds better than the subject contraction, so watch out for this concept. When asking a question in the present perfect, the auxiliary verb to have comes first, followed by the subject, and then the past participle of the main verb. This pattern is similar to questions made with the auxiliary verb do. Have or has, plus the subject, plus a past participle. One example is, have you eaten dinner yet? And the response can be, yes, I have eaten dinner, or no, I have not eaten dinner. It's also possible to use contractions. Although we can put adverbs after the main verb, we can also place an adverb between the auxiliary verb and the past participle. A subject plus have or has plus an adverb plus a past participle. They have slowly advanced their career. All of the guests have already arrived. But we have to be careful with adverbs like yet and just because they relate to time, so they're often used together. Yet is often used with a negative or in a question, and it almost always comes at the end of a sentence. He has not finished his work yet. Conversely, the adverb just is always placed between the auxiliary verb and the past participle. I have just started the work. The plane has just landed. The final concept to know with the present perfect is the present perfect continuous or progressive. We can also combine the present perfect with the present continuous to show an ongoing action that started in the past and continues in the present. The special aspect of the present perfect continuous is that it highlights an action that began in the past but is still ongoing in the present, emphasizing the continuation of the action rather than the completed result. This extension focuses on the action itself, not just the outcome, to indicate how long the action has been happening. It can be used to represent the progress of an unfinished action that started in the past until now, and it depicts a finished action that started in the past and just stopped recently. In the subject-verb agreement, the auxiliary verb to have will be used with the past participle of to be, which is been. But instead of using another past participle, a present participle will be used, which is a usual infinitive that has ing. Just like before, the auxiliary verb to have will be the only one conjugated, while to be will use the past participle been, and the main verb will utilize the present participle. A subject plus have or has plus been, past participle of to be, plus a present participle, an infinitive with ing. Some examples with other concepts are, I have not been seeing my doctor this week. You have recently been going out. It has been raining all day. As always, you can also use contractions. This is how the present perfect tense works in English.